Boston Celtics late game execution, still the big topic of discussion, and we try to answer the question, why the hell do you have Kristaps Porzingis if you're not going to use him in the last possession of the game? It's all right now on the Lockdown Celtics podcast. Enjoy new theme music.
Thanks to Blockbuster Brand, it's holiday season, drop Drew in the mix. And 3 from KP, no we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Juice, still Beantown's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in locked on after. Karalis on the breakdown, clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic, documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all C's nation. Bill Russell the Bird, Hondo to Rondo, KG in the truth, all the legends in the roof. 2 Tommy points for Reggie and DJ. IT, the killer with the big heart was the hardest. Rain and Jay's how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Yeah, baby. Be ever ready. Coming through with a brand new intro. Maybe short-lived. We were going through a whole thing with the Lockdown Podcast Network, but I promised you new theme music. There's the new theme music. Welcome to the Lockdown Celtics podcast right here on the Lockdown Podcast Network. It's your team every day, and I got you covered every day, Monday through Friday with a free, fresh podcast. So subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into that comment section. Let me know what you think. Y'all know me. If you don't, I'm John Karalis. I used to play. Now I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. It's download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKDOWN for $20 off your first purchase of last-second tickets. We're getting into the basically part 2 of the post-Cavs game podcast because late game execution is still an issue. We'll get into just all of that stuff and the Kristaps Porzingis question with our guy, Tom Westerholm. What's up, Tom?
The new theme music is a banger. Shout out to your guy.
Yeah, be ever ready. He came through. It's a little different feel from the last one, but I love it. So
I like it quite a bit. Yeah,
good. I hope people love it. Let me know in the comment section. So I mean, I just gotta I know the intros. My intros go long, but I just gotta give him a shout out because he's come through twice for the show, taking over from Millie's, which is no small feat. Millie's came through for us when he was coming up. Now he's going platinum and stuff. So he does not have time for podcast intros, but Be Ever Ready took that ball and ran with it. So hopefully we get to keep this one for a little while too. All right, Tom. The late game execution still a thing. I've called it the final boss. Like the Celtics have played this video game. They've gotten to the final level. They're there. They're really good at this video game. The late game execution is the final boss. They cannot figure it out yet. There are formulas. They have to understand that certain things have to happen in certain ways, no matter who you are. But what was your feeling there as far as the way that game unfolded, that last 19 seconds? What was going through your mind as that was going down?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of stuff. I think one of the biggest things was that this team obviously is so improved, right? And we've seen that in their consistency. We've seen that in these lengthy, it's not just one big run like they kind of had at the start of the year and then kind of playing pretty good ball the rest of the way. It's no, they have big stretches where they are awesome and they are just kicking everybody's butt and they're just, a really good team. But the bones of the team are still there, and it would be foolish not to expect some of those issues to rear up every once in a while, right? That's just, and that's not to say, I still, and that's, none of that is to say hey, this team, is doomed in the playoffs because they don't have good game execution.
Right.
I think the thing that's so impressive about this team is that there have been so few games this year where they've needed that late game execution. But,
that's right.
I think Ryan Bernardoni had something I don't remember what the number was, but the amount of games that the Celtics have had this year where a tie-in or go-ahead shot has been in the air as time expired is some ridiculous number.
I think it's 3 or something like that, or yeah.
It was a few, yeah. But I think certainly we saw kind of just pick it up a little bit, guys. What do you gotta get into it? You gotta go faster. Something's gotta happen here, Joe. Somebody do something. All right,
yeah.
And that's such a familiar feeling. And I understand why Celtics fans would be freaked out by that. I understand why Celtics fans would have a little PTSD watching a role player just destroy them from three after like the Caleb Martin to Gabe Vincent to Dean Wade like pipeline. I get it. Like that game had everything for a Celtics fan that just like hides under the table when they hear a really loud noise. But like it was, like I think there's still so many reasons to kind of take that game in context. I think Jaylen was right. Don't throw this one away. Think about it, process what happened, but also like that kind of game doesn't define the team this year, I think, in the same way that it did last year.
It doesn't define the team. And right, you don't throw the game away. In fact, you do quite the opposite. The more I've thought about this game, the more I don't know, maybe I hang around Joe Mazzulla too much, because I get exactly what he's talking about when he's like, I love this. Like when he says something crazy like that, I'm like, I get it now. I get it. I don't know if people watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but that moment where Frank is watching Mac do the dance to come out to his dad as gay, and Frank's sitting there just like, I get it now. Like he's just standing there all teary-eyed. It's like this real poignant moment. And I'm like, that's how I feel with Joe Mazzulla. Like I get the craziness of enjoying what a 22-point collapse in the fourth quarter. Cause like, man, that was so well timed. They needed a little bit of a course correction because they came into that game throughout the entire game. I was like, they are not playing great, but they go on these little runs. They're so good that they play poorly for 6 minutes and great for 3. And they've gone from losing 5 points to the lead to adding 4. It's like the tide coming in. It just keeps creeping in each time the waves crash. But it never felt like comfortable. And so the collapse was not surprising to me, but soak all of that in. Really sit in there, stew in it, to make this a 2-hour film session. MF these guys, really get into Jayson Tatum and be like, this is the formula. Now you can be hero Jayson if you want, but do it within 5 seconds, not 19 seconds. This is why we didn't call a timeout. I wanted to save my 2 timeouts because we could have gotten 3 possessions out of 19 seconds in that late game execution. Your job, if you want to do it and find that mismatch, go for it, be the hero, but do it in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
That's your job. And so that would be my approach as the coach. Like, I'm not taking away your ability to do what you do, but if you're either confused about what the plan is, so we got to get this plan there, or you're thinking, hey, I'm on TNT, I'm going to hit this buzzer beater, which if you're thinking that, buddy, you really need a recalibration, because that's not what this is about. That's not what this season is about. You better be out there executing the game plan like we are, like we have been doing to get to this point.
Like he's been doing to get to this point.
Like he's been doing.
Yeah.
He sat there and said, I have to know that when Porzingis has a small on him and I have a big, that I've got to throw it into him. And he said that multiple times. He said that after the I think it was the Warriors game. So it's on Tatum. It's on Joe to hammer the point home. But this, we talk about teachable moments. That game is so, I love that game because it doesn't mean anything to the standings at all. And it's so full of lessons, like learn those lessons, or if you don't, then guess what we're talking about this summer. It's not a parade. No, even though I think we're going to have one. That's what the point I want to hammer home.
Yep. And the basketball gods made sure that this justice was served, because the Celtics, to your point, were not great for much of that game. And then they still went up by 22 in the fourth quarter. And it's like, well, they're going to get away with it. These crafty guys, they got away with it again. No, Dean Wade, Midas touch, Everything you shoot is like, just 2K
Everything.
green, done.
And then he gets that putback too. Like he's the one who gets the putback
Yeah,
on top of everything.
that was basketball justice. The Celtics deserved every bit of that.
Absolutely. So talk about Porzingis. Porzingis, there was good execution for a minute and a half, and it didn't involve Tatum. It didn't involve Brown. It involved Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Kristaps Porzingis. Why? I'm very, very Brian Windhorse. Why is that? We'll talk about that when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by our good friends over at Nissan. They've got a few different choices for you. It depends on the kind of driver that you are. Do you like to push things a little bit further? If you ever wonder what adventure could be around the corner, our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. Like the 2024 Nissan Rogue. It's perfect for city drives and great escapes. Class exclusive Google built-in is your always updating assistant to call on for almost anything. No more connecting your phone to get that wire that's always tangled up into everything. Google Assistant, Google Maps, Google Play Store are built right into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment system. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect midsize crossover for your next adventure. Want to go bigger? How about the 2024 Nissan Armada? Will change what you expect from a full-size SUV. Picture a rugged 4x4 that can seat up to 8 in first-class luxury and style. Tow bigger and explore further in the 2024 Armada. Take the Nissan Rogue, the Nissan Pathfinder, or the Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Now head on over to Locked On Sports Today. It's the 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's first ever national sports all day, every day. And guess what? Now it's available on the Fire TV. Oh, maybe it's available in Nissan someday, but it's available on the free Fire TV's app on your Amazon Fire TV. 24/7 big national sports stories. Locked On Celtics is a regular podcast in that rotation because the Celtics are a national story. So go check out the Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and on Amazon Fire TV, the free Fire TV channels app. All right, let's get into this discussion about Kristaps Porzingis. They specifically got Porzingis for these situations. Brad Stevens saw that they were having trouble in fourth quarters. They needed a mismatch, not some guy to space the floor, not just some big dude who can shoot and draw a big away. They have Porzingis specifically. They've said so multiple times. Throw it to him in the post. Use him in these late game situations because he is a disruptor. Now, the clutch numbers right now for the Celtics, the usage, Jayson Tatum, 31.9%. Porzingis is second, but at 21.7%. So the 10% less, these are clutch time numbers. That number needs to be a little bit closer. Now, Tatum's clutch usage is down about 5% from last year, so it is different, but you got Porzingis, and we saw the Celtics needed a bucket, and they were down 4, and they went to Derek White, high pick and roll on the left wing with Porzingis. Porzingis pops. He gets obstructed, so he tries to flow into a dribble handoff with Holiday. Holiday reads they're overplaying it. He cuts back door. Porzingis drops a nice little bounce pass. Easiest bucket of the night. They were down 4. So if that's there, that kind of like throws a lot of the conventional wisdom, Tom, into disarray because they say, well, you want to simplify your offense in the late game situations because you don't want to turn the ball over. Well, they passed the ball a couple of times and adjusted and made reads on the fly, and that got through for a pretty easy layup. This Celtics team does not generally turn the ball over. They're very good with the ball. And aside from Jayson Tatum, who we all know is first team All-NBA, you've got a second team All-NBA guy in Jaylen Brown. You've got 2 guys who have been All-Stars and 1 guy who should have been an All-Star this year. A bunch of guys that you trust on this team. Use them down the stretch. Use them in last minute situations, and don't just devolve into Tatum hero ball. And my last part of my rant is they got the switch with Tatum onto Darius Garland, but Jared Allen just followed him and had no issue doubling Tatum because he knew that pass wasn't going to Derek White out there in the corner, even though he was wide open. Tatum was shooting it. If you've got all these guys and you've got Porzingis there and Tatum still isn't passing and you're still not running offense that involves all of these guys, then you're doing it wrong.
That's clearly somewhat on Tatum. I also think I know Joe Mazzulla said I was trying to call a timeout with 4.6.
Yeah.
What? Get out there then.
I haven't seen an angle of him trying to do that yet. I don't know if you have. I haven't seen the video of it, by the way.
What was it? Was it one of these? I'm out. Because that's not gonna do it. You gotta hey, sir.
Yeah.
That also doesn't sound like Mazzulla. We've seen Mazzulla go crazy and call a timeout before. He comes way out there. He could set a screen sometimes the way how far out he comes to call timeout.
Right.
So no, I think there was a lot of things that broke down there. I think but I think the larger point of the Celtics moving the ball, because here's the thing. If your guys have scored in the past, if your guys have succeeded in that kind of isolation, last second offense, whatever in the past, sure. Okay. Give it a shot. The Celtics team has had a lot of issues in the clutch. And I mean, and to be clear, their crunch time numbers pretty good, but that's not the last minute. Their crunch time numbers, I think they have a net rating of 20 something. It's really good by the NBA's clutch statistics. But in that final possession, even if you turn the ball over, because you're trying to move it, c'est la vie, at least you were trying to do the right thing. Maybe you use the regular season to get better at doing the right kind of thing. What they tried to do last night just doesn't work. And we've historically seen it not work. And I think it's almost, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but it almost feels like one of the last vestiges of Tatum being well, okay, I've adjusted my game to be modern and to be sleek and streamlined and awesome. But you got to give me this last little Kobe thing here. This last, in this last second, I still want to be that chucker. And I don't know if that's accurate or not, but it's kind of what it feels like sometimes, because it's very kind of disconcerting to see him just slowly bring the ball up after making good decisions all year in every situation. And then just that last second, take his time, go for the win instead of using the clock correctly. Just odd to watch. He's been way better than that.
Yeah. I mean, he has to know. He has to know that even the best of the best missed in clutch situations. Yeah. Like Larry Bird missed shots. We see the highlight reels now, and in my mind, as a person who lived through Larry Bird's era, I don't remember him missing, but he did. People don't remember that. People don't remember the Celtics ever losing to bad teams, which they did. They don't remember a lot of these things, but people miss. And Tatum has to be accepting of the fact that there's a chance you're going to miss, right? There's a chance that if you miss, either have you given yourself enough time for at least the putback. Let's forget for a second that he got fouled. If they didn't call that foul, that's still, I don't think they had enough time for that putback that Porzingis had. I think the time would have expired. So not only do you go sooner just because you want to give yourself time in case you miss for somebody to take advantage of the chaos, like Derek White did against Miami. People got on Marcus Smart for taking that shot, but he did it with enough time to miss and get the rebound. That's why I was never, ever, ever upset with Marcus Smart for taking that shot, because you needed to take a shot to give yourself a second chance so you maximize your opportunity.
Yeah.
But beyond that, as I explained in yesterday's podcast, 19 seconds. If you go and take your shot within 5 or 6 seconds, that ball is either going through the hoop or getting rebounded by you or getting rebounded by them with 11, 12, 13 seconds on the clock. That's enough time for either your own putback or a foul, or if you make it, to go back and sit your defense and try to get a stop. You have time. You have options. You need to give yourself those options, no matter how great a player you are, because people miss sometimes. Now, I will say the one little out that I have for Missoula, because if you're, when I say you're doing it wrong, you're not running the right plays, you're not involving these guys, that is Joe being like you need to have those guys, you need to be calling it, you need to do something to call that play and get them going. But maybe you don't want to. Maybe you don't want to do that on national TV. Maybe you're just like, hey, for this one, I've got a playbook full of stuff. But for this game in March, that doesn't matter if we lose. That might be better for a teaching moment if we lose. I'm not going to empty the playbook to beat the Cavs on a Tuesday night in March. Let's discuss that in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time has last second tickets at the best price, because they know that you don't want to spend a ton, and they have these last minute ticket deals. They got flash deals. They got zone deals. Super easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. It's not just sports. It's theater. It's comedy. It's whatever. If they're selling tickets at an arena, it's on Game Time. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect. All-in prices show your total up front, so you're not surprised by a total that's much higher when you get to checkout. That's always annoying. And you can buy tickets in 2 seconds with just a couple of taps, or not 2 seconds, but a few seconds with just a couple of taps. With zone deals, you pick the section, they pick the seats, you get big time savings there. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKED ON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKED ON, LOCKEDON, LOCKED ON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA right here where you got this podcast, or on YouTube. It's covering the league, rotating hosts every day, Monday through Friday. I'll be on that Wednesday show again when the Celtics stop playing on Tuesdays. So I'll be back there in a couple of weeks. So go check out that show. All right, let's get back to the concept, Tom, of not tipping your hand before the playoffs. I just went on a whole big rant. I didn't let you talk for most of that second segment. But as much as I think a lot of people, myself included, we overreact to the wins and losses. Why didn't you do everything you could to win this game? The Celtics, I just spent the whole first segment saying, I didn't care that they lost. It means nothing to the standings. So if I didn't care that they lost, then I shouldn't be bothered. If Joe Mazzulla is like, I am not going to show you all my late game execution stuff now, because why? Why would I give teams game film on, oh, the Celtics are going to start doing this in the fourth quarter? Oh, that's interesting. When you could sit there and say, yeah, we're just going to give Jayson Tatum isolations over and over and over again. That's all we do in the fourth quarter. And then the fourth quarter of an important game in the playoffs comes around. They go, psych, it's a handoff. It's this, and it's something else. And they do use Porzingis, and it does lead to a basket. I mean, I think there's something to that concept.
It's okay. I'll maybe I will say it's giving Mazzulla a lot of credit.
Sure.
And I give Joe Mazzulla a lot of credit. I think I'm kind of with you. The more we kind of get to dive into the mind of Joe Mazzulla, the more I'm like, I like this guy. Like, yeah, he's really interesting, and really good and really smart.
I feel like Jabba the Hutt when Princess Leia comes in with the Chewbacca, and she's like dressed as the bounty hunter, and she pulls out the thermal detonator, and Jabba goes, ho ho ho, this bounty hunter is my kind of scum. Like I feel like that when it comes to Joe Mazzulla, like Joe Mazzulla is my kind of crazy. Like I just feel like okay, yeah, I'm vibing with this.
Yeah, it's fun. I think if you're a Celtics fan and you kind of have your doubts about that theory, I think that makes a lot of sense because it's like, sure, maybe he's not tipping his hand. We also have really only kind of seen the struggles. It looks a little bit too similar to last year for me to really buy in on that at this stage. And I think, like that's not to say it's like impossible. It's not to say that like Missoula's, not crazy enough to try that. To kind of hold back is I think this Celtics team has shown how much it values winning in the regular season to an extent that I kind of have my doubts that they would just kind of not throw one, but you know what I mean? Like just kind of be
I gotcha.
That said, as a fellow Joe Mazzulla appreciator, I would enjoy if that was the case.
I don't know that it's the case. I can't say. I know Mazzulla is kind of hell bent on winning every game, but he is also hell bent on the lessons. And hey, if you really want to go down this crazy little path that I'm going down, let's dive down the rabbit hole. Maybe he's not telling the players that either. Maybe he's just letting Jayson just go, hey, yeah, man. Yeah, that's a good shot for you, man. And then when the playoffs comes around, he's going to call a timeout. He's going to be like, Jayson, you stand in the corner and you stay there. You sit. You are not involved in this play. And just, which would be, I think would be brilliant, because you have, like I said before, you have Derek White, Holiday, Porzingis, Brown, like any combination of two or three of those guys with Tatum kind of looming as like the ultimate decoy. That to me is, I think that would open up possibilities. And it's not like you're putting Jordan or Bird in the corner and saying like, hey, you be the decoy this one. Like, I'm not overthinking it, because as much as Jayson Tatum is an first team All NBA guy, like he's not that kind of Larry Bird, Michael Jordan kind of player. He's not the guy that when he gets the ball, the other team's like, oh crap. Like, oh crap, we left 19 seconds on the clock. That Tom Brady kind of special where no matter what, like Tom Brady could get the ball in his own 20 with 19 on the clock and 3 timeouts, and people will be like, oh, this is getting into field goal range, isn't it? Like that feeling. Jayson Tatum does not elicit that feeling. And I go back to Luka. And Luka, who's not on a team that's anywhere near as good as Boston, they're so up and down. They're so frantic. And you can say like Tatum is a better overall player than Luka Doncic, but Luka has that thing that down one, if that was Celtics Mavericks and Dallas had the ball down one with 19 seconds to go and it was in Luka's hands, every Celtics fan, it when you're listening and when you're watching, you'd be like, oh crap, here it comes. And you know exactly what shot it's going to be. Fading away, left corner, left break 3. Like, that's going to be the shot.
It's funny too, because it's like you and I have dumped on Trae Young quite a lot on this show, right? Especially
it's one of my favorite hobbies.
It's fun. James Harden, kind of the same way. But those guys, if there's one thing that Trae Young is like really, I do have a lot of respect for, it's that he's kind of that guy too, like Luka, where it's like if he's got the ball, 10, 15 seconds left, you're just like, especially after last year's playoffs, you're just kind of like, oh boy, he might make this. Like he might do something with this.
Yeah.
To your point, right? Clutch time stats, like to your point about Tatum not being that scary, for other teams in that situation. Clutch time shooting stats this year, Tatum 15 for 46. So that's 32.6% from the field, not from 3, from the field. You look at Kristaps Porzingis in clutch time stats, 16 for 23, almost 70%. Like it's pretty stark. Like
Damn. I didn't even know that. Wow.
Yeah, Derek White, 14 for 26, so 53%. Jaylen is 50% precisely, 16 for 32. Like, there's other guys on the Celtics, and of course, and because this is the case constantly with the Celtics this season, part of that is the respect that Jayson Tatum earns, right? Like,
yes,
you're scared of Jayson Tatum partly, so other guys have better shots as a result. Tatum as a decoy is actually one of your best plays because
that's right.
The other guy, because one of your other guys is shooting 70% in crunch time. So it's like it all works together, and that's kind of the whole point. The whole reason why last night was so jarring down the stretch is like this team works so well when it all just when everybody kind of does the right thing, and Tatum did the wrong thing, and it looked exactly like last year as soon as he did it. It's very stark that way.
And I'll end it with this. I hope they get it. I hope they see that. I hope when it comes down to it, that the message gets through to these guys. When you've played this kind of perfect style of basketball, as perfect as basketball is going to get at the NBA level, look how good you guys are. Look what you did to the Warriors. Now, the Warriors, there's an element of the Warriors just didn't have anything in that game. So the Celtics were going to they were going to win that game no matter what, but the Warriors also had nothing, so they won that game by 50. But that game where you play the right way, man, that's it. That's beautiful. The instant you go to not playing the right way, missing these reads, pick and pops, Porzingis at the top, he was missed by not just Tatum, missed by a bunch of guys. Guys were open all over the floor, and someone on the Celtics was choosing to drive and not make that next right pass. It happened the entire game. Like that's why I said that film session better last for like they might. I hope they're still in that film session.
Yeah,
but
if you do that right, if you do all that stuff, like you kind of bulletproof yourself. Like like you're really in it because you could win a title, right? This team could win a title. If you're not guaranteed it, but you could still win a title if you don't fix your crunch time, because like you might have enough games in the playoffs where you're not in crunch time, where you're up by
absolutely
8-10. You totally could win a title like that. But like you would just feel a lot better about yourselves and about your team, and the fans would feel a lot better about you. And those of us who cover the team would be like, yeah, I feel a lot more confident if you know that kind of, to your point, that final boss, that you've got, something that can really beat it.
If Joe Mazzulla finds a magic lamp and gets like the 3 wishes, I wouldn't be surprised if that maniac wishes, his first wish is like, hey, can we make all of these last 22 games crunch time games where we get the last second? But like, don't you want like millions of dollars? No. First thing I want is nothing but last second shots for the rest of the season so we can work on it. And then I'll figure out the rest. But that's what they should want.
You go back in the lamp. I'm going to figure out the next thing as soon as we start with something else.
I know I got 2 more wishes. I'll get to that. Get to me at the end of June. I'll come back to the next 2. But yeah, look, I agree with you. I think that this is it's that last step. Like I said before, it is the final boss. And once you beat the final boss, the game gets so easy. Because you just know, once you know how to beat the final boss, you beat him every time, So that's it.
Can we prove that Joe Mazzulla is not the guy who had that one viral tweet that was like, I asked my landlord to raise my rent because that's how much how much I believe in my own hustle?
I cannot prove that that's not him, because that's exactly something that he would say.
Yeah.
All right, Tom, always appreciate you hopping on.
Appreciate you, man.
And I always appreciate you, the listener, for hopping on here, popping the podcast on as you walk the dog, take a shower, hit the gym, drive to work, drive back from work, whatever it is. Appreciate you hopping into that comment section of the YouTube page. Thank you so much. Let me know what you think about all the stuff that I've said. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I full of it? Or whatever. Just shower compliments on me or insults, whatever. People do both. So hop in there, and I would love it if you shared the pod. Thanks. That is the wrong button. My late game execution was horrible in this show. How about this? Spread the word. Tell your friends they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Man, I am an idiot.